The rain hammered down like God's own judgment, turning the cracked sidewalk of Elmwood Avenue into a river of regret. Gabriel clutched the sodden trash bag to his chest, the only barrier between his 14-year-old frame and the storm's fury, as his father's voice echoed from the porch one final time. "Don't you ever come back, you filthy little liar." In that instant, the door slammed shut not just on the house he'd called home for a decade, but on the boy he'd been, innocent, hopeful, utterly alone, leaving only the hollow echo of his own sobs swallowed by the thunder. Gabriel stumbled through the downpour, the weight of his few possessions, 2 threadbare sweaters, a dog-eared copy of To Kill a Mockingbird from the school library, and a half-eaten bag of chips, dragging at him like chains. Detroit's East Side wasn't kind to strays, especially not ones with tear-streaked faces and a backpack slung over one shoulder that screamed, "Runaway." He didn't know where to go. The shelter downtown was a myth whispered among the kids at school, a place where the walls breathed despair and the beds were claimed by those who'd fought harder for them. His sneakers, once white Keds now caked in mud, squelched with every step, and the cold seeped into his bones like an accusation. This is what you get for being you. By dawn, the rain had relented to a miserable drizzle, and Gabriel found himself huddled under the awning of a boarded-up corner store, the kind that sold lottery dreams to folks chasing scraps of hope. His stomach gnawed at itself, a sharp reminder that the chips were gone, and the $20 he'd swiped from his mom's purse, before she turned away, muttering prayers under her breath, wouldn't stretch far. He thought of her face, pale and pinched, as his father had grabbed him by the collar earlier that night. It had all unraveled so fast. The sleepover at Tommy's house, the awkward fumble in the dark with another boy from the neighborhood, the whispers that spread like wildfire through the tight-knit block. By supper, his dad had pieced it together from a neighbor's poisoned tongue, and the belt had come out before the questions. "You ain't my son," his father had roared, the words landing harder than any lash. Gabriel had begged, promised it was a mistake, but the truth burned in his chest like a brand. He was different. He liked boys the way he wasn't supposed to, and now the price was exile. The city stirred awake around him, trucks rumbling past, a distant siren wailing like a banshee. Gabriel wiped his nose on his sleeve and forced himself to stand. Survival wasn't taught in catechism class. It was etched in the graffiti on the walls, the wary glances from passers-by. He headed toward the river, the Detroit he'd only seen from bus windows on field trips, where factories loomed like forgotten giants and the water carried secrets downstream. Maybe there, amid the rust and ruin, he could disappear. Hours blurred into a haze of motion. He panhandled at a gas station, earning a crumpled $5 from a trucker who pitted his soaked puppy dog eyes but warned him off with a gruff, "Kid, this ain't no place for dreamers." Lunch was a stolen apple from a market cart, tart and stolen in equal measure. By afternoon, exhaustion clawed at him, and he collapsed on a bench in Belle Isle Park, the island oasis mocking his isolation with its manicured lawns and families picnicking under umbrellas. A jogger paused, an older black woman with salt and pepper braids, her eyes narrowing in assessment. "You lost, baby?" she asked, voice like warm cornbread laced with suspicion. Gabriel shook his head, throat too tight for lies. She sat beside him, uninvited but unyielding, and pulled a thermos from her fanny pack. "Coffee's hot, black as midnight, but it'll wake the dead." He sipped, the bitterness grounding him, and the words tumbled out, halting at first, then in a rush, like vomit he couldn't hold back. The woman listened without flinching. Her name Miss Lorraine, a nurse who'd seen every shade of human brokenness in the ER. "Ain't right what they did," she said when he finished, her hand light on his shoulder. "But you're tougher than you know. Come on. My shift starts soon, but there's a youth center off Gresham. They got cots and counselors who don't bite." That night, Gabriel slept on a lumpy mat in the center's dorm, surrounded by other ghosts. Runaways with tattoos fresh as their scars, kids nursing addictions or absences. The counselor, Mr. Hale, a wiry vet with a limp and a laugh like gravel, signed him up for GED classes and a work-study gig stocking shelves at a thrift store. It wasn't home, but it was a foothold. Days turned to weeks, the trash bag relegated to under the bed like a shameful relic. Gabriel learned to navigate the system. Food stamps that bought ramen by the case, bus passes that mapped escape routes, group therapy where he first whispered gay without the world ending. Winter bit hard that year, snow piling like unpaid debts. Miss Lorraine checked in, bringing scarves she'd knit and stories of her own youth in the Jim Crow South, where loving who you loved could get you killed. "We all carry trash bags, honey," she'd say. "Some just learn to weave them into parachutes." Gabriel nodded, but inside doubt festered. School was a distant memory. The other boys eyed him like he carried plague. One night, a hulking teen named Rico cornered him in the showers, fist raised, spitting slurs that echoed his father's rage. Gabriel fought back. Not with punches, but words, raw and ragged. "Hit me, and you're just like them, the ones who threw me away." Rico backed off, shame flickering in his eyes, and something shifted. They became wary allies, sharing smokes behind the center and dreams of getting out. Rico wanted to rap, had bars scribbled in a notebook that painted the streets in vivid strokes. Gabriel confessed his love for stories, how words could build worlds when real ones crumbled. Together, they plotted futures. Rico to the booth, Gabriel to something, anything but this limbo. Spring thawed the ice, and with it came opportunity. Mr. Hale pulled strings for a scholarship to a community college writing workshop, Voices of the Voiceless. Gabriel's first piece, a raw poem about the trash bag's weight, read aloud to a circle of skeptical faces, hung in the air like smoke. The instructor, Dr. Elena Vesquez, a Latina poet with fire in her verses, pulled him aside after. "You've got pain, kid, but pain without purpose is just noise. Channel it." He did. Summers blurred into submissions. Zines, open mics, a blog called Bag of Bones, where he chronicled the unseen. Queer kids on stoops, addicts chasing dawn, the American dream deferred. Followers trickled in, then surged, shares from activists in New York to allies in LA. By 18, Gabriel had a byline in a local paper, a profile on a kid who'd turned exile into ink. But roots run deep, twisted. A letter arrived one gray morning, postmarked from Elmwood Avenue. His mother's handwriting, shaky. "I'm sorry. Your father's gone, cancer. Come home?" Gabriel stared at the envelope, heart a war drum. Forgiveness? Or just another trap? He burned it in the sink, watching flames lick the words to ash. Not yet. Maybe never. College beckoned, a full ride to Wayne State, majoring in journalism. The campus buzzed with possibility. Protests for marriage equality, drag shows in the quad, a queer alliance that felt like family without the blood ties. Gabriel thrived, his voice sharpening on op-eds that called out conversion camps and bathroom bills. He dated tentatively. A barista named Alex with a laugh like summer, but it fizzled when Alex confessed he was bi-curious, not committed. Heartache was a familiar ache, but it fueled the fire. Then, Daniel entered like a plot twist. 22. A transfer from UCLA studying urban policy, with sun-kissed skin from California beaches and eyes like polished oak that saw through bullshit. They met at a rally against Prop 8 Echoes, Gabriel chanting with a megaphone, Daniel handing out flyers with a grin that disarmed. "You're the bag boy," Daniel said later over cheap diner coffee, referencing the blog. "Your post on foster kids? Hit me here." He tapped his chest. Gabriel flushed, and used to admiration without strings. They talked till closing, Daniel's story spilling out. Raised in foster homes after his parents' car wreck, bounced between states, finding solace in policy papers that promised reform. "I want to fix the system," Daniel said, fingers tracing the rim of his mug. You're exposing its guts." What started as late-night study sessions evolved into walks along the Detroit River, hands brushing accidental on purpose. Daniel's kiss, under a canopy of autumn leaves, tasted like possibility, gentle, searching, without the shame Gabriel had always braced for. For the first time, love didn't feel like a secret to bury. Their first real date was a disaster in the best way. An indie film fest in Ferndale, where the projector jammed mid-reel, stranding them in a theater of groans. Daniel, ever the fixer, charmed the projectionist into a refund and suggested they salvage the night with falafel from a truck parked crooked on Woodward Avenue. They ate cross-legged on the hood of Daniel's beat-up Civic, the city lights flickering like faulty stars, and laughed until their sides ached. "See," Daniel said, wiping tahini from Gabriel's chin with his thumb. "Even glitches make stories." Gabriel believed him. In Daniel he found a mirror, not of his pain, but his hunger for change. Daniel's apartment, a third-floor walk-up in Midtown cluttered with policy tomes and protest posters, became sanctuary. They'd cook badly, pasta that stuck to pots, debating everything from Obama's healthcare push to the raw deal for queer youth. Daniel listened when Gabriel unpacked the trash bag nights, his silence a bomb, his arms a harbor. "You're not broken, Gabe," he'd murmur into the crook of Gabriel's neck. "You're the blueprint for better." By junior year, Gabriel's bylines multiplied. A feature in The Atlantic on homeless LGBTQ teens, interviews with survivors of family rejection that went viral on nascent social media. Daniel cheered loudest, pinning clippings to the fridge like medals. But success bred shadows. Whispers followed Gabriel on campus. Jealous peers calling his rise pity porn. A prof dismissing his work as trauma bait. Worse, the hate mail trickled in. Envelopes with slurs scrawled in block letters, Bible verses twisted into threats. Daniel found him once, shredding a particularly vile one, tears hot on his cheeks. "Fuck them," Daniel growled, pulling him close. "They're scared because you're loud." That night, they made love. Not frantic, but slow, reverent, bodies mapping trust in the dim glow of street lamps filtering through blinds. It was Gabriel's first time feeling whole, not pieced from apologies. Ambition pulled them tighter. Daniel landed an internship at a DC think tank, commuting weekends via Greyhound, his absence a hollow in Gabriel's bed. Letters bridged the gap. Daniel's typed on letterhead, Gabriel's scrawled in journals, filled with sketches of their future. A loft in Brooklyn, policy that housed the thrown out, words that healed divides. "We're building something real," Daniel wrote. "You and me against the machine." Graduation loomed like a launch pad. Gabriel's thesis, an oral history project titled Echoes in the Empty, compiled stories from 50 queer survivors, hit shelves as a chapbook. Launch party at a Corktown bookstore. Packed house, toasts with craft IPAs, Daniel's arm around his waist like an anchor. Elena Vesquez, now a mentor, raised her glass. To Gabriel Ruiz, the voice that won't be silenced. But cracks spiderwebbed. Daniel's internship extended. Calls grew sparse, excuses laced with fatigue. "DC's a beast," he'd say, voice tinny over the line. Gabriel buried doubt in deadlines, accepting a fellowship at the Detroit Free Press, junior reporter, beat on social justice. His first assignment, covering a scandal at the state's largest youth shelter, where funds vanished and kids like his 14-year-old self rotted in corners. The investigation consumed him. Late nights poring over ledgers, interviews in rain-soaked alleys with whistleblowers who trembled like leaves. One source, a former aide named Marcus, spilled everything over black coffee in a diner that smelled of grease and ghosts. "They take the grants, pocket half, leave the rest to fend," Marcus said, eyes darting. Gabriel taped it all, heart pounding with the thrill of exposure. Daniel returned for a weekend, jet-lagged but beaming, bearing a leather-bound notebook inscribed for the storyteller who sees souls. They walked the riverfront, hands linked defiantly past joggers who stared. But over dinner, vegan tacos at a spot called Slows, Daniel dropped the bomb casual as confetti. "They offered me the full-time gig, policy analyst. Starts in fall." Gabriel's fork paused mid-air. "DC permanent?" "Yeah, it's huge, Gabe. We could make it work weekends, holidays. Or, you could come? Free Press has stringers there." The words hung, unspoken. "Choose me or the city that's birthed your fire." Gabriel forced a smile, throat tight. "Detroit's in my veins. This story, the shelter. It's why I do this." Daniel's face fell, then rallied. "I know. God, I know. We'll figure it." But the kiss that followed tasted of compromise, bitter on Gabriel's tongue. The story broke 2 weeks later. Front-page exposé, Shelter of Shadows, naming names, citing corruption that funneled millions from vulnerable kids. Fallout was swift, resignations, audits, a governor's task force. Gabriel's phone rang off the hook. NPR wants an interview, the New York Times a profile. Pride swelled, but so did isolation. Daniel's texts. Proud as hell. Miss you. Fewer emojis, more distance. Summer heat baked the asphalt, mirroring the simmer in Gabriel's gut. He threw himself into follow-ups, testifying at hearings where suits in starched collars patted his back like he was a prop. One evening, post-session, a lobbyist cornered him in the Capitol hallway, silver-haired, reeking of cologne and entitlement. Noble work, son. But stir this pot too hard, and it'll scald you. Gabriel shrugged him off, but the warning lingered. Nights alone, he'd scroll Daniel's Facebook, group shots with sharp-dressed colleagues, captions about networking over bourbon. A photo. Daniel arm in arm with a lithe intern, both laughing at some gala. Just work, Gabriel told himself, but jealousy gnawed like termites. Rico resurfaced then, fresh from a rap battle win in Chicago, crashing on Gabriel's couch with tales of label scouts. You still writing that soul stuff? Rico asked, sparking a blunt on the fire escape. Gabriel nodded, passing it back. Yeah, got a book deal brewing. Man, you're blowing up. Rico's grin faded. But don't forget the bag, bro. The one that started it all. Gabriel hadn't. He kept it still, faded plastic in a drawer, a talisman against forgetting. But as cicadas droned, he wondered if success meant trading one exile for another. Fall arrived with a vengeance, leaves carpeting sidewalks in crimson regret. Daniel drove up for Labor Day, the Civic loaded with takeout from a DC Ethiopian spot. They picnicked in the park, jazz from a boombox weaving through the air. I hate this, Daniel admitted, head on Gabriel's lap. Feels like I'm choosing ambition over us. Then don't, Gabriel whispered, fingers in Daniel's curls. We could both go. New York, maybe. Fresh start. Daniel lifted his head, eyes searching. You'd leave Detroit? For you? Yeah. The lie tasted sweet, but Gabriel knew the truth. His roots ran deep as the river, tangled in the city's grit. They made promises then, monthly visits, joint applications for grad programs. Sex that night was urgent, bodies clinging like lifelines. But dawn brought reality. Daniel's suitcase by the door, keys jangling like chains. 2 months in, the betrayal blindsided. Gabriel, scrolling idly during a slow shift, froze on a tweet from a Policy Wonk account. Thrilled to welcome Daniel Hayes to our team, and his brilliant partner in crime, Alex Rivera. A photo link. Daniel and Alex, that barista from college, the one who'd ghosted, beaming at a fundraiser, hands intertwined. The world tilted. Gabriel's call went to voicemail, texts unread. When Daniel finally rang back, voice laced with panic, Gabe, it's not. Save it. Gabriel cut in, voice steal. Alex? Really? After everything? Silence, then a sigh like surrender. It just happened. The distance. I'm sorry. Sorry. The word that had launched him into the storm at 14. Gabriel hung up, chest caving, and drove to the river. He stood on the edge, wind whipping, tempted to let the current claim what was left. But anger surged instead, hot, purifying. He wouldn't drown. Not again. The breakup hollowed Gabriel out, leaving a shell that rattled through interviews and deadlines. He threw himself into work, the free press beat expanding to national syndication, his bylines a shield against the ache. Nights blurred. Whiskey neat at dive bars, where drag queens with sequined wisdom slipped him numbers he never called. Honey, men are like buses. Another one's always coming. One named Ruby advised, her wig a cascade of fire engine red. Gabriel nodded, but the station felt eternal. Publicly, he armored up. A TEDx talk in Ann Arbor, from trash bag to tribune. Reclaiming the narrative, drew standing ovations, clips racking views online. He spoke of betrayal not as Daniel's, but the system's. Families discarding kids like yesterday's news, policies that let them fall. We're not statistics, he thundered, voice cracking just enough to humanize. We're stories waiting to be rewritten. Behind the curtain, grief festered. He revisited the youth center, volunteering shifts that mirrored his own lost boyhood. One kid, Jamie, a wiry 15-year-old with purple-streaked hair and a stutter, latched onto him, echoing Gabriel's silence. They said I'm an abomination, Jamie confessed over checkers in the rec room. Gabriel set down his piece, leaned in. Nah, you're a revolution, and revolutions start small. Mentoring Jamie became anchor, a way to pour love into cracks without demanding it back. But Daniel's ghost lingered. A forwarded article from a mutual friend. Congrats on the book deal, with a winking emoji that twisted the knife. Gabriel blocked the number, but dreams betrayed. Daniel's laugh in empty rooms, his touch a phantom burn. Opportunity knocked amid the rubble. An offer from the Guardian's U.S. Bureau in New York. We need your fire, the editor emailed. Queer voices, unfiltered. Salary tripled. Perks included a shoebox apartment in Brooklyn Heights. Detroit tugged. Miss Lorraine's Sunday dinners, Rico's freestyles, the river's relentless murmur. But exile had taught him adaptation. He accepted, packing the trash bag last, its plastic brittle as old skin. New York swallowed him whole. Subways like veins pulsing with ambition. Skyline a jagged promise. The bureau buzzed, writers with Ivy accents and war stories from Kabul. Gabriel's first piece, a dispatch on marriage equality's ripple in red states, landed on the front page. Colleagues toasted at a Soho bar, but isolation crept. No Daniel to debrief, no easy banter. He joined a writers' group in the village, where a poet named Theo, tall, tattooed with a southern drawl, caught his eye. Dates followed. Poetry slams, falafel runs echoing old rhythms. Theo was kind, uncomplicated, but Gabriel's heart stayed shuttered, a vault sealed with rust. The book deal materialized. Bag of Echoes, his collected essays, slated for spring release. Publicity tour loomed, readings in L.A., panels in D.C. The irony stung. D.C., where Daniel now thrived, policy darling with Alex on his arm. Gabriel steeled himself, channeling spite into prose. A chapter on love's betrayals, veiled but visceral, poured out in a fever. Trust is the ultimate vulnerability, and when shattered, it teaches not caution, but courage. Winter gripped the city in ice, mirroring the chill in his veins. On a whim, he flew home for Christmas. Miss Lorraine's table groaning with ham and collards. Rico performing originals by the tree. You look sharp, city boy, Rico teased, but his eyes saw the hollows. Later, on the porch with spiked eggnog, Gabriel confessed the breakup. Rico listened, then clapped his shoulder. Pain's the ink, Gabe. Without it, your words are just pretty lies. Back in Brooklyn, the tour kicked off. LA was sun and skepticism. Industry types probing for the trauma angle. DC was the gauntlet. Panel at the Wilson Center on Youth Policy. Moderator a silver fox who'd praised his work. Gabriel scanned the audience, heart lurching there. Third row, Daniel. Older, sharper suited. Alone. Their eyes locked mid-sentence. Gabriel faltered, then powered through, voice ablade. Reception after. Schmoozing over canapes. Daniel approaching like a specter. Gabe, you were brilliant. Save the flattery. Gabriel sipped his wine, acid on his tongue. What are you doing here? Work. And you saw the schedule. Daniel's gaze dropped, shamefaced. Alex and I, it's over. Was a mistake. The distance, the pressure. I fucked up. Gabriel laughed, brittle. Yeah, you did. But the old pull tugged, a riptide beneath calm waters. They talked, halting, raw. In a quiet corner, Daniel spilling regrets. The internship's grind, Alex's familiarity as crutch, waking nights to Gabriel's absence like a limb severed. I thought policy was the dream, Daniel said, voice low. But without you, it's just noise. Gabriel wanted to bolt, to hurl the wine in his face. Instead, you chose. Live with it. He left first, cab to the airport a blur of neon. But seeds planted. Emails from Daniel, tentative, read your latest. Still cuts deep. Gabriel archived them, unread, but the vault cracked. Spring bloomed with the book's launch. Bag of Echoes debuted at number 12 on indie lists. Reviews hailing it a clarion call from America's forgotten margins. Tour wrapped in triumph. Jamie, now in high school, Skyped from Detroit. You did good, Gabe. Pride swelled, but so did fatigue. Back in New York, Theo proposed deepening things. Gabriel demurred, citing deadlines. Then the call. Miss Lorraine, voice quavering. It's Rico. Overdose. Found him in an alley off Joy Road. The world grayed. Gabriel flew home. Funeral a sea of black under Michigan skies. Rico's mom clutched his hand, whispering, he talked about you always. Said you showed him words could fight back. Eulogy duty fell to Gabriel. Standing at the pulpit, notebook bars Rico's in hand. From trash to treasure, we rise or we rust. He broke midway, sobs racking. The congregation a murmur of amends. Graveside, Daniel appeared, uninvited, flowers in fist. Heard from Elena. I'm so sorry. Gabriel nodded, numb. They walked the cemetery in silence, stones whispering losses. At the gate, I miss you, Daniel said simply. Me too. The admission slipped, traitor. That night in his old room. Posters faded, bed sagging, they talked till dawn. No kisses, just truths. Daniel's stalled career, regrets like barnacles. Gabriel's ascent, lonely at the peak. I was scared, Daniel confessed, of us being too much like them, foster kid and runaway building on sand. But we could build on rock, Gabriel countered, echoing his own essays. If we choose. They did, tentative, a weekend in Detroit extended to months. Daniel transferred to a New York firm, policy remote. Gabriel cleared space in the shoebox for Daniel's books. Love rebuilt, brick by careful brick. Shared columns on reform, mornings tangled in sheets, evenings reading aloud from Bag's sequels. But peace is fragile. Summer brought the leak. An anonymous tip to Gabriel's editor. A shelter follow-up gone wrong. Marcus, the whistleblower, disavowed his quotes, claiming coercion. Suddenly, lawsuits loomed. Defamation, the paper scrambling. Gabriel pored over tapes, panic rising. Had he pushed too hard? Daniel paced the apartment. Fight it. You were right. Easy for you to say. Resentment flared. Your world's think tanks and handshakes. Mine's trenches and backlash. Daniel stopped, hurt flashing. I'm in this with you. Are you? Gabriel shot back. Or just chasing redemption? The fight escalated, words as weapons, old wounds ripped open. Daniel stormed out, crashing at a friend's. Days stretched, silence a chasm. The scandal erupted like a fault line, fracturing Gabriel's hard-won world. Front-page retractions in the free press. Pundits on cable news decrying activist journalism's pitfalls. His inbox flooded. Supporters rallying, trolls baying for blood. Bag of Echoes sales dipped, publishers whispering pullbacks. Gabriel holed up in the apartment, blinds drawn. The trash bag unearthed from storage like a curse revived. Daniel returned after 3 days, key turning soft in the lock. We need to talk, he said, setting takeout bags down. Pad thai, Gabriel's comfort. No fight this time. Exhaustion won. They ate on the floor, cross-legged like freshmen, dissecting the mess. Marcus folded, Gabriel admitted, replaying the tape. Said his boss threatened his kid. Daniel nodded, policy brain whirring. We exposed the coercion. Flipped the script, corruption silencing sources. It was a lifeline. Together, they strategized. Daniel pulling strings for legal consults. Gabriel drafting a counterpiece for The Guardian. Titled Silenced Voices. When truth becomes the target, it dropped midweek, igniting fresh outrage. Protests outside the Capitol, hashtags trending bag of truth. Marcus recanted his recant, tearful presser. They broke me, but Gabriel, he gave me spine. Vindication tasted sweet, but scarred. Trust once shattered, mended with caution. Date nights resumed. Rooftop picnics in Bushwick, hands held tighter. Daniel proposed therapy, couple sessions in a walk-in on the Lower East Side. "We're not them," he said after one, referencing their origins. "We get help." Gabriel agreed, unpacking layers. The father's rage internalized as unworthiness. Daniel's foster ghosts manifesting as flight. Progress was glacial, arguments fewer, intimacies deeper. They co-authored an op-ed for the New York Times, "Love in the Margins: How Queer Couples Are Rewriting Policy." It sang of resilience. Their photos side by side, smiles genuine. Fall brought harvest. Bags paperback surge. Invites to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Gabriel demurred the gala, too stuffy. But shown at a smaller affair, Obama-era holdovers praising his impact. "You've given voice to the voiceless," one advisor said, hand on elbow. Daniel beamed from the sidelines, later whispering, "My hero," yet undercurrents stirred. Daniel's firm-eyed expansion, whispers of a DC outpost. "Just scouting," he assured, but Gabriel's radar pinged. Trust exercises faltered one night over Merlot. "You're pulling away again," Daniel sighed. "It's opportunity. For us, better health care, stability." "Stability," Gabriel echoed, bitter. "Like the kind that threw me out?" The row simmered, unresolved. Gabriel fled to Detroit for a breather. Miss Lorraine's kitchen a bomb, her hugs sage-scented. "Boy, love ain't a straight road," she counseled, stirring gumbo. "It's got detours. Question is, you driving or passenger?" Back in New York, reconciliation. Daniel canceling the scout trip, committing to quarterly check-ins. They adopted a rescue pup, a scruffy mutt named Scout, after Atticus's kin. Its wagging tail a daily reminder of chosen family. Winter holidays tested. Joint trip to California. Daniel's foster aunt hosting with wary warmth. Awkward toasts, but progress, her admitting, "Heard you boys are good for each other." Gabriel's turn. Elmwood Avenue loomed in dreams, but he drove past, no stops. Forgiveness deferred, like a debt unpaid. Spring unfurled with a bang. Gabriel's second book, Echoes Amplified, a collaboration with queer activists nationwide. Launch at Strand, lines snaking blocks. Daniel emceed, voice thick. Gabriel doesn't just tell stories, he lives them, and invites us to live better. Post-party glow faded into routine, deadlines, dog walks, domesticity's quiet hum. But betrayal's echo lingered, a low hum. One evening, sorting mail, Gabriel found it. A manila envelope, no return. Inside, photos, grainy shots of Daniel at a bar, arm around a colleague, lips close in laugh. Timestamp. Last week's late meeting. Heart plummeted. Confrontation brewed over dawn coffee. Photos splayed like cards. Daniel blanched. "Gabe, it's nothing networking. She's straight, married." "Look at me," Gabriel demanded, voice quake. "Like last time?" Distance as excuse. Daniel reached, but Gabriel recoiled. "I swear." "Swears are cheap." He stormed out, scouts wine-chasing. Streets blurred, Brooklyn to the bridge, wind off the East River a howl. At a bench, phone buzzed. "Theo, the poet. Heard you're in town. Coffee?" Gabriel deleted, but the seed of escape rooted. Weeks of Cold War. Separate beds, clipped words. Daniel begged therapy reboot. Gabriel went solo, unpacking rage to a counselor named Dr. Patel, her office ferns whispering calm. "Betrayal's a cycle," she said. "Break it or repeat." Decision crystallized at a fundraiser, glad gala, tuxes and tears. Gabriel keynote on progress, but spotted Daniel across the room, deep in talk with the colleague. Enough. Post-speech, he cornered Daniel in an alcove. "I can't. Not again." Daniel's face crumpled. "Please. We're worth fighting for." "You already quit." Gabriel walked, heels echoing finality. Alone again, New York felt vast, unforgiving. But resilience, that old muscle, flexed. He channeled into work. A series on queer elders, their loves lost to AIDS and apathy. Interviews in senior centers, hands veined as maps, stories of stolen decades. One man, Harold, 92, clutched Gabriel's hand. Boy, I loved fierce and lost harder. But regret, that's the real killer. Words for his next piece. The long shadow of distrust. Viral again, but hollow victory. Jamie called from college. Saw the gala clip. You okay? Kid stuff, Gabriel lied. What's your major again? Nights, Scout curled at his feet. Gabriel wrote letters unsent. To his father, ashes now. To Daniel, I wanted us eternal. Burned them, Phoenix writes. Summer scorched, opportunities bloomed. Fellowship at Harvard's Kennedy School. Guest lectures at Stanford. Gabriel chose the road, touring coasts, voices in vans. In San Francisco, a reading at City Lights, Ferlinghetti's Ghost Nodding, drew a crowd of misfits. Post-event, a fan approached. Young, earnest, your bag story saved me. Gabriel hugged him, tears pricking. Purpose, if not peace. Fall returned him east. Book tour wrap in D.C., Irony's Encore. Panel on media ethics, moderator probing scandals. Gabriel owned his truth costs, but silence bankrupts the soul. Audience Q&A. A hand rose. Daniel, suit rumpled, eyes red-rimmed. How do you forgive when the hurt's your own story? Mike trembling, Gabriel met his gaze. You don't. You rewrite it. The question hung, a precipice. Applause thundered, but Gabriel's pulse roared louder. Panel over, he slipped backstage, breath ragged. Daniel waited in the green room, hands shoved in pockets like a contrite teen. Needed to see you. That piece on elders? Gutted me. Gabriel crossed arms, barrier. What do you want, Dan? Absolution. Honesty. Daniel stepped closer, scent of sandalwood a gut punch. I screwed up. The photos, stupid flirt, nothing more. But I get why it broke you. I broke us first. Past tense. Gabriel's laugh cracked. Feels present. They talked. Hours in a dive near the convention center. Burgers cooling untouched. Daniel owned it all. Insecurity's sabotage, policy world's temptations, love's fear of loss. You rose from nothing, he said. I envied that fire. Thought I could match it, but I dimmed instead. Gabriel listened, walls cracking. His own confessions. Success's loneliness, betrayal's echo chamber. I built armor. Yours pierced it. Dawn found them walking the mall, monuments silent witnesses. Lincoln's gaze stern, but Gabriel felt lighter. Slow, he said at the cab. No promises. Daniel nodded. Slow's my speed now. Reentry was tentative. Coffee in neutral Brooklyn cafes. Texts with memes not meanings. Scout approved. Tail wagging at Daniel's visits. Therapy tandem resumed. Dr. Patel beaming at progress. Vulnerabilities the bridge, she noted. Fall foliage painted Central Park gold. They picnicked there, blankets and books. Daniel read policy drafts aloud. Gabriel critiquing with red pen. Laughter returned. Tentative birdsong. One night, over stir-fry in the shoebox, Daniel knelt. Not ring, but a keychain. Miniature trash bag. Plastic etched with rewrite. Not proposal. Invitation. Build with me. Gabriel's throat closed. Yeah. Intimacy rekindled gentle. Touches testing waters. Kisses deepening trust. No rush to labels, just presence. Holidays split. Detroit for Gabriel's half. California for Daniel's. Reuniting in New York with a tree strung in rainbow lights. Winter brought storms, literal and lit. A blizzard trapped them indoors, board games and bad movies marathoning. Daniel's firm promoted him. Lead on Youth Housing Initiative. Your influence, he credited. Gabriel's third book, Amplified Allies. Co-written with Daniel, charted queer policy wins. Launch sold out, Elena toasting. From solo echo to duet. But conflict brewed external. Backlash to the book. Conservative outlets branding it woke propaganda. boycotts called. Protests at signings, picket lines with signs family values first. Gabriel faced one in Chicago, heckler shouting, "Your kind destroys America." Daniel at his side countered calm, "Nah, we rebuild it." The moment crystallized. Partners, not possessions. Yet doubt nipped. Daniel's late nights. Conference calls to DC. Gabriel confronted over breakfast. "Talk to me. No walls." Daniel exhaled. "The outpost offers back. Lead roll." But I said no. Us first. Relief flooded. But so did truth. Good, because I'm expanding podcast series Bag Talks. Touring nationwide. Daniel grinned. Road trip. Spring equinox aligned stars. Podcast launch. Episodes featuring survivors like Jamie, now an advocate. Miss Lorraine's wisdom. Even Harold's fading baritone. Listeners surged, sponsors queued. Daniel joined as producer, Mike skills sharp. One episode. Raw. Gabriel interviewing his mother. Flight to Detroit. Porch sit down. Air thick with unsaid. She aged fragile. Apologies tumbling. I was weak. Feared losing him too. Gabriel's hand on hers. You did anyway. But me? I'm here. Tears. Hugs. Healing's hesitant dawn. Back in New York, he told Daniel. Voice thick. Closed a circle. Yours to open others. Daniel replied. Summer solstice. Road trip in a rented RV. Bag Talks live from Heartland stops. Kansas prairies, Texas twangs. Queer kids in cornfields sharing stories. Daniel drove, Gabriel navigated, metaphor made manifest. One night, Badlands campfire, stars adome. Daniel pulled a box, velvet. Now a proposal. Marry me. Gabe, rewrite forever. Knees weak. Gabriel yes ed. Ring simple platinum band engraved echoes entwined. But climax loomed, unbidden. Fall elections heated, policy under fire. Daniel's initiative targeted by a senatorial candidate, Harlan Voss. A firebrand promising traditional protections. Voss's campaign unearthed dirt. Anonymous leaks tying Daniel to radical queer activism. Gabriel's exposés twisted as bias. Smear ads aired. Daniel's face morphed with protest footage. Voiceover snarling endangering our youth. Death threats followed, voicemails venomous. Mail with white powder scares. Daniel hardened. We'll sue. Gabriel raged. This is why I fight. Not for fame, for this. Joint op-ed. Smears can't silence solutions. Went viral, allies rallying, Obama tweet. Glad briefs. But toll mounted. Sleep lost. Scouts sensing tension with anxious whines. Climax crested at a DC hearing, Voss testifying against the initiative, subpoenaing Daniel. Capitol Hill, suits swarming, cameras flashing. Gabriel in gallery, heart hammer. Daniel at the dais, composed. Senator, I've seen the system's failures firsthand. This bill heals them, not for politics but people. Voss sneered. Or for your agenda, Mr. Hayes? Married to a so-called journalist who's profited from perversion. Gasps rippled. Daniel's jaw set. My husband. Husband. The word landed. Unscripted. Gallery erupted. Gabriel's breath caught. Pride surging. Voss faltered. But pressed. Irrelevant. The man's work is tainted. Daniel leaned in. Tainted? Try truthful. Ask the kids he's housed. The lives he's lit. Gavel banged, recess called. Backstage, Gabriel enveloped him. Husband, huh? Daniel grinned, sheepish. Felt right. Still does. Always. Hearing dragged weeks. Testimonies. Filings. Voss's skeleton surfaced. Campaign funds from anti-LGBTQ donors. Affairs hushed. Initiative passed narrowly. Victory Pyrrhic but pure. Exhaustion followed triumph like a shadow. Daniel's firm celebrated with a low-key dinner. Steaks at a Georgetown haunt, toasts to resilience. Gabriel, flown in for the win, raised his glass. To echoes that amplify, not erase. But jet lag and jitters lingered. Threats hadn't vanished, just gone underground. Homeward bound, New York welcomed with autumn chill. Wedding plans wove in Small, meaningful. City Hall ceremony. Reception at Miss Lorraine's. Her insisting, family feeds the soul. Invites handwritten. Jamie as best man. Elena officiating. Rico's spirit in a playlist of his beats. But betrayal's final twist slithered in. A week pre-vows. Gabriel's phone lit. Unknown caller, voice distorted. Hayes thinks he's safe? Tell him Harlan sends regards. Click. Panic spiked. He alerted Daniel, who waved it off. Vasa's desperate. Feds are watching. Gabriel pushed. Security consult. Locks changed. Daniel relented. But tension threaded their days. Arguments over shadows. Love strained like overtaxed wire. Rehearsal dinner. Detroit diaspora in Midtown loft. Laughter laced with lore. Miss Lorraine cornered Gabriel. Eyes on the joy, baby. Past's just prologue. Vows dawned crisp. November light gilding the hall. Daniel in navy suit. Gabriel charcoal. Rings exchanged. Words whispered. From trash to treasure you. Kiss sealed. Cheers erupted. Honeymoon skipped for podcast crunch. But nights tangled sufficed. Bodies' vows renewed. Return thrust them into whirlwind. Bag talks Emmy nod. Daniel's bill signing by the prez. Ceremony in Rose Garden. Gabriel beaming sidelines. Media frenzy. Power couples queer quest. Profiles painting them saviors. Yet humanism's quiet core beckoned. Holiday circuit. Detroit for Lorraine's feast. California aunt's pie. Then a shelter visit. Gabriel reading bag to wide-eyed kids. Daniel outlining reforms. One boy, 14. Trash bag at feet. Locked eyes. You made it. Can I? Gabriel knelt. You will. Promise. New Year ticked in Brooklyn. Fireworks over the bridge. Resolutions. Balance. Boundaries. Daniel's outpost dream shelved. Gabriel's tours tempered with home dates. Spring greened. Second anniversary. Riverwalk. Detroit roots calling. Gabriel proposed return. Co-op in Corktown. Hybrid life. Daniel yes-ed. Where you bloom I root. Move orchestrated. Boxes packed. Scout scouting ahead. New digs. Victorian row house. Creaky charms. Neighbors queer-coded. Block parties with grills and guitars. Career crests. Gabriel's amplified wins Pulitzer nod. Daniel tapped for advisory board. But spotlight wanes. They pivot. Foundation launch. Echo funds. Grants for thrown-out youth. First check. To the center where Gabriel landed. Mr. Hale tearing up. Challenges persist. Policy stalls. Hate spikes post-election. A rally bomb threat. Evacuated. But shaken. They hold tighter. Therapy touchstone. Summer solstice 5 years on. Backyard vow renewal. Circle small. Jamie. Wet himself. Toasts. You taught me rewrite. Miss Lorraine. Freilier. Beams. Full circle. Loves. As dusk falls. Fireflies dancing. Gabriel pulls Daniel aside. Remember the bag? Daniel nods, producing it. Framed now on their mantle. Our origin story. Not end, Gabriel murmurs. Just the strong open. They kiss. River murmuring assent. America. Vast and vexed. Stretches beyond. Flaws and fights. But in their weave, hope threads golden. From 14th storm to this harbor, Gabriel grew not despite the throwaway, but through it. Man, husband, mender. Unignorable, unbreakable. Epilogue whispers. Years on, Echo funds houses thousands. Bag talks a staple. Grandkids, adopted, rowdy, beg for the tale. Gabriel spins it soft. Once, a boy with a bag met a storm. But storms pass and boys, they become legends. Fade to laughter, legacies light.